What's up, people? I want to thank you for being on another show, Jack Hakimian show, and I got with me today Kevin Gibson, and I'm excited. We're going to be talking a little bit about this whole Hillary Clinton controversy in which she calls people deplorable. Kevin, what's going on with you, brother?
Oh man, everything's going pretty good. Just excited to be here and talk about whatever we're going to discuss today. But I'm excited.
Good, good. And you heard a little bit about the controversy about this fact that I guess half of Trump supporters are deplorable. What did you think about that?
I thought it was an interesting comment, and I was shocked that she would say something like that. Especially how she talks about Trump, about his comments about certain groups of people, and so she actually pulled a Trump move according to what she says he actually does. But it was a very disrespectful comment because she wouldn't want Trump to call all her supporters deplorable as well.
Yeah. We're going to dive more into that conversation, but let's hear a little bit what she said.
We are living in a volatile political environment. To just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And he has lifted them up.
So interesting that I had read a New York Times column, trying to find the columnist. He had basically said that, it wasn't politically correct for her to say that.
Right.
But he argued that it's true, that Trump supporters are basically deplorable. They're racist, they're xenophobic, they're all these things. It was written by Charles Blow. He's a columnist for the New York Times. He's a black liberal columnist, and he basically says, let's get straight to it. Hillary Clinton's comments Friday at a fundraiser that half of Donald Trump's supporters could be put in a basket of deplorables wasn't smart political play. But then he goes on to say, but yet it's true. And then he begins to argue the fact that, these people, according to, the Pew polls, 80% likely Trump primary voters supported Trump's proposed ban on Muslims. 62% support creating a national database of Muslims, and 40% supported shutting down mosques in the United States. 38% wished the South had won the Civil War. 33% thought the practice of Islam should be legal in this country. And then 32% supported the policies of Japanese internment during World War II, and 31% would support a ban on homosexuals entering the country. And then, and of course, he will say nearly half of Trump supporters described African Americans as more violent than whites. The same proportion described African Americans as more criminal than whites, while 40% described them as more lazy than whites. And again, this is the op-ed columnist Charles M. Blow of the New York Times. So what I'm hearing a lot from liberals is, again, calling half of Trump supporters deplorable was wrong politically, but they are deplorable because they are a bunch of racists, bigots, xenophobes, they have Islamophobia. What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the same thing could be said that was in the liberal camp as well, as far as being a bunch of racists. When you support Planned Parenthood and all of these types of things, and we already know what Planned Parenthood is about. So I think it could be said on both sides of the spectrum. I just think because a lot of Trump supporters are more vocal about what they believe, I think then that's why a lot of people can say that, oh, they are a bunch of racists. They're a bunch of, homophobic people, or they're very dogmatic, or, they're bigots when it comes to certain groups of people. But I think because they're more vocal about what they believe, then that's why people would say that over half of the supporters of Trump are deplorable.
Yeah, and then you got to consider the fact that what is it about Trump's policies, or even the Republican Party, that's inherently racist or bigoted, right? Because the real issue is that Democrats have historically had policies that were racist and bigoted, everything
Right.
from slavery to Jim Crow, and then so the question becomes, well, they're bigoted because they don't believe in same-sex marriage. Well, that's an ethical issue. They don't believe that homosexuals should be mistreated. They just believe that, based on natural law and their theology, that this is not healthy for family and societies, and ultimately it doesn't incur the blessing of God upon a nation. So in reality, the very same Democrats that are calling the Trump supporters deplorable. Now, are there racists within the Republican Party? Yes.
Sure.
But are there more racists in the Democratic Party? I believe yes, because it's the actual policies of that party that is committing black and brown genocide, that is destroying black communities, and have left these communities in poverty. It's the social philosophy of that movement, and I think that this is kind of a smokescreen. It's like, let's focus on the labeling of Trump, which I don't think he's the perfect candidate. I don't think he's a polished political candidate, to get away from the policy social ethics, especially from a Christian perspective. Any last thoughts?
Well, I think, you hit the nail on the head. I think because the Liberal Party, what they'll do is they'll throw the label around, because historically, blacks have always been against the Republican Party. So it doesn't matter who it was, the voice or the person that they have in position. It doesn't matter anything that particular candidate says, you're going to automatically label him and the people that follow him a racist. However, the Democratic Party, they hide, but they're very subtle when they'll push their agenda and make you think that they're for minorities, the black and brown community, but in actuality, they're not. So it's going to be an interesting election, man. It's going to be an interesting election.
And my response to this columnist is basically, look, where's the data, right? We have more poverty. I mean, the war on poverty spent trillions of dollars, but black people are more in poverty today. I mean, you do have a middle class, but you have a lower GDP.
Right.
You got more black teens who are not working. You got more black males in prison, right, than in college. And where are they getting locked up in? Liberal, democratic, urban cities. Chicago, Detroit, Harlem, Miami, LA, the list goes on and on. And the interesting thing is that Bill Clinton, according to the data, his presidency put more black men in prison because of the three strikes law than any president in U.S. history. He got more donations from private prisons. Okay, and that's the game the liberals play, right? They say we care about black people, and they point the finger at Republicans that they're bigoted and they're racist, but then they actually do things in policy and practice that is demoralizing and destructive to the black community. Look at Haiti, the Clinton role there. Look at Rwanda. Look at the agricultural climate that Bill Clinton's policies left for the Caribbean world, destroying their agricultural industry. I mean, you're talking about real policies, right, that have destroyed the black consciousness and black life.
And the interesting thing about the three-strike rule, or the policy, a lot of black liberals will say, oh, it's because, during the Clinton presidency, he had a lot of Republican, the Republican was in Congress. However, he championed those initiatives.
Oh, absolutely.
He championed those. So you can't blame the Republican Party for something that he championed.
Because in reality, Bill Clinton is a straight pimp.
Absolutely.
He knows. I mean, he is a smooth. He apologized for Rwanda. Okay, he apologized for putting black men in jail. He apologized, and you know what pimps do? They beat you and they apologize. You know the womanizer. Right?
They make you feel like it's your fault.
Yeah, he has that womanizing spirit, and he literally is a womanizer. He loves women. We know that. That's all the data's out there that this guy is a chronic adulterer.
Right.
Okay, and he plays that same game. That's why morality matters, right? The scriptures are very clear that when you have bad character, you should not be appointed into leadership. And it used to matter, right, in American life, and it used to matter in the church, the black church, the white church. Now it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
I mean, you got pastors that have been, married 4 or 5 times. Everyone knows that the pastor is a hoe, but it doesn't matter because he's a gifted orator, And so when you have that type of culture, and now the reason why there's such low approval ratings for Hillary Clinton, but yet Democrats kind of feel like, well, she's the best candidate, is because the moral climate in America has gotten so low that we're putting up with the Clinton and even the Trump, right? Trump isn't the most, polished character. He doesn't have the most polished character. This is a man who owned casinos and this and that, But is he better than Hillary Clinton? I believe so. It's the lesser of two evils because Hillary is that bad. Her policies, her history, her husband, the body bags around her. I mean, it's really, really bad. And I think ultimately America's going to make that decision. But, let's see what happens.